Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Jaya gṛhītvāsad-grāhān Jaya gṛhītvāsad-grāhān Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamunatiravanam Chari Jaya Kunjabi Hari Yamunatiravanam Chari Jaya Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Jaya Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanam Chari Jaya Kunjabi Jaya Yamunatiravanam Chari Jaya Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunjabi Jaya Madhava Jaya Kunda Vihari Jaya Jaya Radha-Madhava Jaya Kunda Vihari Jaya Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Śuci-vratāḥ ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Yes, very good. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good evening. We say good evening. It's nice to be here again in Ljubljana. What to say? Seeing the photo of His Holiness Kadamba Swami there on Prabhupada's Vyasasan is so heartbreaking, actually. At the same time, back home, back to Godhead, right? So, giving wonderful example, his entire life and his departure. But I don't know how you feel, but I feel that the world will never be the same without him. And yes. But life goes on. We have to continue. So let us continue with Bhagavad-gita. Krishna's eternal words. I was told verse number 10 of chapter 16. Yes, okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Saji Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kampatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Pitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's a sign here. Dragi predavateli prosim ponovi vprashanya občinstva za našo internetno poslušostvo, ki te vprašanje ne sliši. Hvala. Okay, good. So we read from Srimad Bhagavad-gita, and we're reading from chapter 16, which is getting toward the end of Bhagavad-gita. And this chapter is called the Divine and Demoniac Natures. Mainly it's about demoniac natures, with some short reference to divine nature in the beginning. Or we could say, well, the description of the demonic nature is also indirectly describing divine nature, because divine nature is the counterpart, the opposite. So in any case, verse 10, we're reading, it's a continuation of discussion of the demonic nature. So we can read this together. Kāmam aśritya duṣpūraṁ. Kāmam aśritya duṣpūraṁ. Dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ. Dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ. Mohāt gṛhītvāsad-grāhān. Mohāt gṛhītvāsad-grāhān. Pravartante aśuci-vratāḥ. Pravartante aśuci-vratāḥ. Others?
Kāmam aśritya duṣpūraṁ. dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ. mohāt gṛhītvāsad-grāhān. pravartante śuci-vratāḥ. Kāmam aśritya duṣpūraṁ.
Dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ. Mohāt-gṛhītvāsad-grāhān. Pravartante śuci-vratāḥ. Kāmam aśritya duṣpūraṁ. Dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ. Mohāt gṛhītvāsad-grāhān. Pravartante śuci-vratāḥ. Good. Okay. Kāmam, lust. Aśritya, taking shelter of. Duṣpūraṁ, insatiable. Dambha, of pride. Mana, and false prestige. Mada-anvitāḥ, absorbed in the conceit. Mohāt, by illusion. Gṛhītvā, taking. Asat, nonpermanent. Grāhān, things. Pravartante, they flourish. Aśuci, to the unclean. Vratāḥ, avowed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige. The demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. And Prabhupada explains, the demoniac mentality is described here. The demons have no satiation for their lust. They will go on increasing and increasing their insatiable desires for material enjoyment. Although they are always full of anxieties on account of accepting non-permanent things, they still continue to engage in such activities out of illusion. They have no knowledge and cannot tell that they are heading the wrong way. Accepting non-permanent things, such demoniac people create their own God, create their own hymns, and chant accordingly. The result is that they become more and more attracted to two things: sex enjoyment and accumulation of material wealth. The word aśuci-vratāḥ, unclean vows, is very significant in this connection. Such demoniac people are only attracted by wine, women, gambling, and meat eating. Those are their aśuci, unclean habits. Induced by pride and false prestige, they create some principles of religion which are not approved by the Vedic injunctions. Although such demoniac people are most abominable in the world, by artificial means the world creates a false honor for them. Although they are gliding toward hell, they consider themselves very much advanced. And so ends Prabhupada's purport. Kāmam āśritya duṣpūraṁ dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ mohāt gṛhītvāsad-grāhān pravartante aśuci-vratāḥ. taking shelter of insatiable lust, and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige. The demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted to the impermanent. Krishna is painting a picture in these verses, an elaboration, actually, of his brief description, which is verse number 4, right? I think number 4 is the beginning of, that's a long. Yeah, number 4. Dambo darpo abhimanas cha krodha parusham eva cha ajnanam cha vijatasya parta sampadam asurim. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature. And then in the next verse he says, Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandai asuri mata. Ma shucha, don't worry. He's reassuring Arjuna, don't worry, you're not a demon. Ma shucha sampadang daivim abhijato asi. You are abhijata, you are born with daivim sampadam. You have good qualities, good assets, actually, is the word sampadam. You know this word, asset? An asset? Huh? Valued property. Yeah. An asset is something you own, which is, which you could trade, for example. So if you go to a bank to ask for a loan, they will ask you, well, okay, what assets do you have, which can be, mortgaged. So anyway, asset, sampada. So he's saying, Arjuna, no worries, you have all the right kind of assets. You don't have the demonic assets, which are also called assets. You have Daivi Sampat. But then he goes, then he says, okay, there's these two different sorts. This is interesting, and it's something one naturally wonders. I wonder about. Because next Krishna is saying that there's, it's almost like he's saying there's two species. There's two kinds of beings. There's the divine and there's the demoniac. Dvau bhuta sarga lokesmin daiva asura eva cha daivo vistarashaha prokta asuram parta me shrinu. Dvau bhuta sarga, there's these two created living beings. Loke asmin, in this world, daiva asura. There's the daiva and asura. And then he says, daiva vistarashaha proktaha. This, what I've already explained, the daiva nature. He says vistarashaha, which is extensively. Although in this chapter, he's just given a list. But he may mean by this, I've been describing all the way from the end of chapter 2. I've been describing daivika nature. And now he says, asuram, shrinu, asuram partha me shrinu. Listen to me as I describe the asura nature. So then he starts with verse number 7, and now is going to be several verses when he's describing the asuric nature. And Krishna becomes quite, we might want to say, polemical. You know the word polemical? Polemisch. That sounds German. Polemisch. He gets, he's like, he wants to make a point here. Speaking strongly, but not exactly, in some sense analytically, but not in this. It's a kind of different tone Krishna seems to have here. And he really, you can almost hear Krishna at the end of this chapter really shaking his fist. These rascals, saying, I throw them again and again into hellish condition because they don't get it, they don't listen. But he also gets he gets a little bit humorous at the same time in three verses. Let's see, where is this? Idam madhya maya labdam idam manye manoj. Here we are. Idam madhya maya labdam idam manye mano ratam. That's it. Idam astidam api me bhavishyati punardanam. He's imitating the demons here. He's playing the part of a demon. And he says, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now. How was it in Lord of the Rings? My precious. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. So maya hata shatrur hanishye, I will kill. Cha aparanapi, and then famously, Ishvaro ham bogi siddho ham balavan sukhi. I am the Lord. Now here it's kind of double irony, because here's Krishna speaking, and he actually is Ishvara. So he's saying, Ishvaroham, I am the Lord. It's true. But he's speaking as the demon, the demonic person who is thinking, I am the Lord. Ishvaroham aham bogi, I am the enjoyer. Yes, Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, right? He is the bhoktri, the enjoyer, bogi. Siddho, ham, I am perfect. Balavan, I am powerful. Sukhi, and I'm so happy. Anyway, we're getting ahead of where we are. Krishna summarizes the philosophy of the demonic philosophy when he says in verse 8, Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahur anishvaram aparas anishvaram ishvaroham, I am the Lord, but anishvaram, this world has no Lord. Huh? Which is it? It's confused philosophy. Aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kama haitukam. The haituka, the hetu, the cause of everything is what? The demon says, kama, it is lust. Kama can mean more broadly just desire, but Prabhupada usually translates it as lust. So asatyam, this world is unreal, and it's without foundation, apratishta. There's no controller. And aparaspara sambhutam, it just arises. This is perhaps giving us a stab at the Buddhist idea of dependent origination. They have this idea that one thing causes another, which 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 causes another, and it goes around in a circle. There's no original cause. It's simply one cause leads to another, which leads back, and it just keeps going like that. So aparaspara sambhutam. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, Krishna's giving his representation of what is demonic thinking. And then he says, as a result of that, as a consequence of a certain philosophy, then what happens? Etam drishtim avashtabhya, having such a vision, drishtim. Nashta atmana alpa buddhaya, these people whose buddhi is alpa, is very small. Nashta atmana, destroying themselves. Prabhavanti, they flourish with what? Ugra karmana. Activity which is ugra, which is nasty, horrible, destructive. Kshayaya, for what purpose do they act? Kshaya, for destroying. What are they destroying? Jagat, the universe. Ahitaha, there's no hita, there's no benefit. That's the consequence. Krishna is implying there's a link between how we think and how we act. So he says this demoniac nature, essentially, going from the position God is dead, okay, and then we are lost in a world of meaninglessness. We have to make our own meaning. What meaning shall we make? Kāmam aśritya. Kama. What is the meaning? The meaning is to pursue whatever one desires, whatever one thinks is valuable. Kāmam aśritya duṣpūraṁ. Pura. Om purnam adaha purnamidam. Purnat purnamudachyate. Purnasya purnam adaya purnam eva avashishyate. It's describing completeness, purnam. So pura is related, and duṣpūra is the opposite. So not filling, not fulfilling, not satisfying. So kāmam is duṣpūraṁ. It's difficult or impossible to be satisfied. I was thinking about this this morning. Imagine imagine, now we're imagining, okay? You wake up tomorrow morning, and standing at your bed are some very finely dressed people, some gentlemen with suits and ties maybe, and perhaps some ladies, all very well dressed. You wake up and they're all there, smiling at you, and you're looking, what's this about? And they say, "Madam, sir, we have very nice news for you. You may be surprised, but this is just, we're telling you how it is, that as of today, you are now the king of Slovenia, or the queen of Slovenia." And you say, wait a minute, let me try this again, let me wake up. And then they say, no, it's really a fact. We gave up, we've abolished the democracy, and we had a meeting, and we decided that actually you are the one who is most qualified to be our leader. And so we want to invite you to your palace. What's the name of the castle up here on the hill? Huh? Ljubljanski grad. Grad. Ljubljanski grad. Okay, so please come up now. You can settle in. We've completely renovated it. It's perfectly comfortable. Don't worry. No cold rooms, anything. So now you're in charge. And after you think about it for a while, and after some time, and it seems real. It's going on. It's people are coming to you. They're asking for direction, advice. They've given you ministers to help you to run the country. And after a few weeks or a few months, you get into it. Imagine. I know it may be hard, but just imagine. But now let's say you've had this position now for a year, and one day you're looking at the map of Slovenia, and you're thinking, such a small country. Actually, Istria really is part of Slovenia. I know some of you are saying, yeah! Whatever. Yeah, so you start, you feel it is your duty. It is your God-given duty, actually, to expand the borders of the country. So the point is that kāmam is duṣpūraṁ. It is never fulfilled. It is never satisfied. And why is it not satisfied? Of course, it's because it's not possible to satisfy. And why is it not possible? It's not possible because kāmam is misdirected prema. It is the opposite of, and yet it has a certain kind of, it has features which are inverted reflections of love. So Krishna is identifying this nature of being absorbed in desire, kāmam aśritya, with the demonic quality. But when we read this chapter, we tend to make a big mistake. And the big mistake is we think, yes, now I can sort of lean back and together with Krishna, I can laugh and sneer at the demons. Sneer, you know this word?
No.
To sneer. Yeah, you're patting yourself on the back and these people looking down on others. Posme hovati. Yeah. Yeah. Kāmam āśritya duṣpūraṁ. Never satisfied, but taken shelter of, aśritya, then to cover up for the fact that one is not satisfied, dambha-māna-madānvitāḥ. One is endowed, anvitāḥ, with dambha, with pride, with false prestige, and with mada, with conceit, with thinking oneself something one is not. So all of these turns of the mind are a result of the focus on, really it's about greed. It's about trying to get something which one doesn't have. And where does that come from? It comes from a sense of being incomplete. Right? We come into this world crying, screaming, from birth. Icha dvesha samutena, dvandva-mohena bharata. We're overwhelmed by icha, desire, and dvesha, disgust. Dvandva-moha, we are bewildered by this duality. And this is all a sense of incompleteness. I'm not complete. I need something more. Something is missing. So, already at the end of chapter 2, Krishna is speaking about completeness, but in an interesting way. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti yatvat. What is it, verse 70, I guess? Tatvat kama yang pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti nakama kami. And he's giving an analogy. I'm sure all of you have heard it and read it, but it's nice to remember, to be reminded of it. There's an ocean, and what's happening with the ocean? Rivers are flowing, into that ocean. Is the ocean disturbed by the flowing of rivers into the ocean? Not. And the analogy is to say, don't identify with the rivers, identify with the ocean. The rivers are, in this case, so many different desires that are coming like rivers. They're constant, they're coming constantly, so many desires. But we can pull back our identification with them. We can take a step back. We can notice the desire, and then we can say, wait, wait. is that something I really need? And the questioning is the awakening of the intelligence. Do I need that? Well, maybe I don't need it, but I really want it. So yoga is about practicing to step back from our desires. But that doesn't sound very exciting. That sounds, sort of boring at best. Oh, we have to restrain ourselves. Yes, okay. So we don't get a lot of customers for that. We don't get many customers. What we are interested in is something positive, and that is the practice of devotion, which is compared to an experience of being fulfilled. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatra chaisha trika eka kalaha prapadyamanasya yatashnatas tushti pushti kṣuta-apaya anugasam. With every bite, anugasam, there's tushti, satisfaction, pushti, nourishment, and kṣuta-apaya, the reduction of hunger. When you're hungry and you have a meal, prasadam, it's very nice. Bite after bite, anugasam, you feel nourished, isn't it? And you feel relieved of your hunger, and you feel satisfaction. So bhakti, paresha anubhava virakti. There's bhakti, there's paresha anubhava, which means, anubhava means experience, and para isha, the Supreme Lord, experience of the Lord. So there's bhakti, there's the feeling of bhakti, of devotion, paresha anubhava, there's experience of the Lord, and virakti, there's a feeling of detachment. I've eaten enough. I've had enough. At some point, you push yourself away from the table, or you stand up if you're taking prasadam sitting on the floor. Now, as we get older, more of us, we don't sit on the floor so much when we eat. We sit at tables. But you push yourself, okay, I've had enough. So that's the opportunity. That's what bhakti, that's what devotion is about. It's about real nourishment. Now, I just realized, it says here, zvečer, how do you say 19? 19 o'clock? Right. To 1945. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
It's not valid for today. Other days.
Doesn't count today? Okay. Okay. All right, basically we've talked mainly about the first line of this verse, kāmam, aśritya, duṣpūraṁ. A bit of the second verse, mohāt, gṛhītvāsad-grāhān, pravartante, aśuci-vratāḥ. Aśuci-vratāḥ, they are sworn, Prabhupada's translation is very nice, sworn to unclean work. And Prabhupada in his purport itemizes, he gives us a list, what means unclean work for sinful activities, right? intoxication, meat eating, gambling, illicit sex. That's the four kinds of unclean work, unclean vows. So to make the demons also make vows. Devotees make vow. We make vows when we take initiation. We make a vow to not do unclean things, to do clean things. We make a vow to have only good, we say in English, good, clean fun. Do you have any expression like that in Slovenian? Good, clean fun? No. There's no good, clean fun in Slovenia. Well, therefore we have to teach Slovenian what is good, clean fun, right? So what is good, clean fun for devotees? Harina, chai. What's that mean?
It's between the young people, in Slovenia, there is like have fun, but with
Use your head.
use your mind.
Don't go crazy.
Duṣpūraṁ and all that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of the same idea, I guess. Have fun, but do it with your head. We say have fun and do it with your heart. Confirmed. Okay, I think that's the confirmation to stop here. Maybe someone wants to share some reflection, or if you have a question, we can also try to discuss. Yes, Sundar-Gopal.
How can we understand Krishna is here explaining these qualities of demoniac persons, but we can see that also demigods have these tendencies for lust and for getting things, for opulence, for everything. So, how to put it in perspective?
Okay, maybe I don't have to repeat the question because you have a microphone, yes? Right. Yeah. Well, yes. The material world in general is a place where we tend to act in ways, all beings, conditioned souls, are acting in ways which are aśuci-vratāḥ, or which are in some respect ahita, not beneficial. That is a characteristic of being conditioned. And you may say, well, but the demigods, they're supposed to be in the mode of goodness. Yes, and the mode of goodness is a mode, a guna, and the gunas, we understand, are always mixed until they become completely purified, and then that's a different story. That's the spiritual realm at that point. So there can be, and there will be some mixture, and therefore even someone may be doing their duty ever so perfectly, it will still have some fault. And and Krishna says that in the 18th chapter. What is it? Sahaja karma konteya sadosham api natyajet. Sadosha, there's going to be dosha, there's going to be fault, even for someone so to say, in sattva guna. Therefore, even the devas. That may be one way of explaining. And usually when we read about the demigods engaged in passionate activities, lusty activities, or whatever, they are in the process of learning some lesson. So they've been elevated, yes. Have they become perfected? No. But they're getting some opportunity for learning a lesson. That's what we see famously in the 10th canto, when Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, we could say, slip up and make trouble. Indra seems to get into a lot of trouble, not just in the 10th canto, but elsewhere. Indra becomes a bit of a comical character in the Bhagavatam. But Indra is learning lessons. Daksha is learning a lesson. Daksha is a great, powerful Prajapati, but he gets carried away, and then literally he loses his head. Do you have that expression in Slovenian when someone does something really, you say, oh, I lost my head, sorry. Yeah? So Daksha really lost his head. He lost his head, and then he gets the head of a, what does he get a head of? A goat? A goat's head. Yeah, which is ironic because it's typically a goat which is sacrificed in Vedic animal sacrifices. Typically it will be a goat. So then, in this case, he wanted to make this sacrifice, got upset because Lord Shiva didn't show the respect that he thought he should get. And then it becomes a battle of words and curses, and then he ends up losing his head, and he gets the head of a goat. It becomes a reversal of positions. Although, actually, that's another subject, but in the ritual, sacrificial rites, the ideal victim of the sacrifice is the sponsor, the yajamana, the person who says, let's do a sacrifice because I want to please the gods so that I can gain wealth and cows and children and long life. And to do this, we'll do this very elaborate sacrifice which prescribes the sacrifice of certain animals, and there's great detail about which animals and all different aspects. But the animal is a substitute for the yajamana, for for the sacrificer who is sponsoring. He's substituting the animal for himself and then hoping to please the demigods so that he can get their benefits and live this life, with all material comforts. Daksha had this idea, and what happens? He can't control his anger, and as a result, he loses his head. And then he takes the head of the goat, which is being sacrificed. Well, the end of the story is he learns his lesson. He's very humble, he submits himself, and he accepts he recognizes his mistake. So, to your question, how is it, why is it that the demigods, yes, even the demigods can become overwhelmed in these ways, because from the perspective of the gunas, we can say, there's never quite pure sattva guna. There's always going to be a mixture. And they can be subject to this as anyone in the material world can. And one could say that they can be even more vulnerable to material desires, because they're in a position of such great enjoyment. Indra has such fantastic enjoyment, and that simply feeds the fire of more desire. Does that make sense? Next time you see a demigod, tell them, be careful. You think you're a demigod. Hare Krishna. Anyone seen any demigods lately? No? Huh? Yes? Maybe there are some demigods amongst us here right now. What do they say? All the demigods assemble to worship the Lord? We don't see them. Srila Prabhupada would say, what? You didn't see? Narada Muni was here? The demigods were here. When Prabhupada says something like that, what? You didn't see? It's like, oh my God. We're so blind. Prabhupada was speaking as if it's completely natural to, it's ordinary to see these demigods. What? You didn't see? Huh? Anything else? Oh, hey Mangi, Kopi.
Welcome, Maharaj. Thank you so much for the class. I'm just wondering, you also mentioned a tool, how to transform desire, like by controlling mind, and we have different instructions. So I just want to ask about these tools. So do you have some other advice for how to control this desire, and how helpful could be revealing mind confidentially, like to share with somebody if something appeared like that need to be prevented, like.
So, techniques for dealing with desire.
Yes, in sense, yes. Sometimes we can stop something, and sometimes we can transform it, and then
Transform,
yeah.
Okay. I think I've talked about this sometime before from Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Nice little formula. Vitarka varane pratipaksha bhavanam. It's all in these 4 words. Vitarka, 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 badane, pratipaksha, bhavanam. So vitarka means some not good thinking, and badane means in the situation of being bound. So in the situation of being bound by thoughts which are not good, what to do? Pratipaksha bhavanam. Think the opposite. Think the opposite. When you notice yourself thinking something and you kind of have enough intelligence from all that we've been hearing for all these years from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, to be able to say, oh, that's not a good thing to be thinking. And then, what to do? You can think, well, what would be the opposite of this? What would be the opposite? And that can be an interesting exercise in itself, to be working out what would be the opposite of this thought that I have. The example that's given immediately after this in the Yoga Sutras is one has some thought of himsa, of violence. And then it elaborates. This can be a simple, can be very... instead of this stream of thought that I'm having now, what would be the ocean that I could identify with? What is that ocean? Into which all desires are flowing. What is that ocean? Yeah, it's not really what, it's who, right? To identify with Krishna, who is completely self-satisfied, Atma Rama. And then, when we become like, when we really identify that way, Krishna says, "Yas tvatmaratirevasya atma triptascha manava atman yevatmana tushta tasya karyam navidyate." There's no duty, there's nothing you have to... We have to do so many things. And that's what much of the Gita is about. Krishna's telling Arjuna, you have to fight, it's your duty. But then he says, yes to Atma Rati. In the case that you have Atma Rati, in the case that you have attraction to the self, and here Atma can mean the individual self or the Supreme Self, Atmaratir, yastvatmaratir evasyad Atma tripta chamanava. And if a person is satisfied with the self, he uses different words for satisfaction, but basically being self-satisfied, then there's no duty. There's nothing you have to do. You're free at that point. No more need to do any sacrifice. But then, what does the devotee do? The devotee works very hard for Krishna. Because devotee is then free from kama, free to act, free to give full energy for service. And that's a very joyful condition, which is simply giving more and more energy. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. On that note, shall we stop there? Yes? No? Maybe? No. Are we going to have kirtan for 5 minutes? Okay. Bhagavad-gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Kai Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Kai Bol, Hari Bol, Kai Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Kai Bol, Hari Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande